able to see my screen? Am I audible, guys? Hello.
Yes, Vinod.
The last sessions we have it is Snowflake, the setup plan with Snowflake. AWS try to understand where exactly they're going to use general ETL while bringing the data different sources directly into temporary area. That is called there is some storage AWS S3 is files format, object format, objects, then the data, bring the data particular S3 to temporary. Directly
Your voice is not clear, Vinod. It's breaking up.
everyone guys are able to hear me.
Yes, I think it's better now.
There is a sound coming. I don't know, but we can't, hear you clearly. I don't know. Something is going on.
Yeah. How is it now, guys? You're able to hear me?
Now it is
Now
much
it's
better.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I think it's my headset problem. Just give me a second. I'll be changing my headset. Just a second. How is it now, guys? Is it okay? Or same issue?
Yes, Vinod, now it's better.
Oh, it's better. Okay, good. Yeah. So I think there is a headset problem. Okay. So what I was telling here is, before getting the data into Snowflake here, first of all, we are going to put the data into a storage area like AWS S3. Okay, we'll see what is AWS and what is S3, but you think it as a temporary storage. Okay, so why do we need to store the data in this temporary storage before bringing it to Snowflake? So what do you think? What is the advantages of storing the data here? Any guess? Any guess, guys? Okay, so I'll tell you here. First of all, you might be getting the data maybe row by row here, right? So let's say you are getting one row for 1 second. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to accumulate this data here. Okay, so let's say I will wait until it will become 1 million records. Okay, some transactions are happening here, but I will wait until I'll get 1 million records. Then I am going to load the data parallelly here, because Snowflake has the capacity to load the data parallelly. Okay, so what we do is generally the virtual warehouse which you use to load the data from S3 to Snowflake, it runs parallelly, correct? So when you have huge data, you will use your resources efficiently. Otherwise, what will happen? So if you are trying to write the data row by row here, your virtual warehouse will be switched on for every row, correct? So that will be a cost consuming process, right? So the first thing is you can accumulate the data and you can load the data parallelly here using virtual warehouse. So that is one advantage of storing the data here. Okay. So generally in the batch process, we call it as batch process. Okay. If you write the data directly from the source to target, it is called streaming. Okay. So generally there are some tools like Kafka, so which will write directly from the source to target. It is only required if you need to see the data in the real time. For example, let's say some stock dashboard you are bringing, or some cricket dashboard you are seeing. So you need to get the data really in the real time manner, right? So that time you can go for writing row by row. Okay, but if you are doing some analytics, like what is my sales data for the last year or for the last quarter, you don't need the data in real time. I don't need today's data for that, right? So you can accumulate the data here, and you can simply load the data in the parallel fashion here. So that is one advantage of storing the data in AWS S3 here. The other thing is maybe it can serve as the backup purpose. Okay, so instead of putting the data in Snowflake, so you can keep all the different sources data in the backup purpose. So people design something called data lake here. Okay, so you might be hearing a word called data lake. Okay, so what is the data lake here is just you get the data from different source system and dump it here. Okay, just dump it here, and when you need it in the future, you bring the data into Snowflake and process it. Otherwise you just keep it here. So in the future we may need this data. Okay, so that is how you can use this AWS S3 here. Okay, so clear, guys, or you have any question here? Okay, so now if this is clear, let us try to see not only AWS S3, we are going to use multiple other features of cloud. Okay, so if you go to Google and search what are the major clouds, so you will see three major clouds, like one is AWS, another one is Microsoft Azure, and third one is Google Cloud. Okay, so just I'm picking AWS for these sessions. Okay, so now for access to AWS, you need to create your AWS trial account. So the way we created Snowflake trial account here, we are going to create AWS trial account now. Okay, so AWS is offering 1 year free trial here. Okay, 1 year free trial. So for that you need to provide your credit card information. It's okay, they won't deduct any money from your credit card. Okay, so just you need to provide the credit card information and create your AWS account. Okay, so I'll show you how to create that. So go here and just simply type AWS free trial. So they are going to provide 1 year trial. Okay, so just create the free trial account here. So for this you need to have a brand new email ID which is not used earlier. Okay, so just I have created one email ID. Just let me go there. Okay, so just let me give this ID there. So you can give any, okay, this @gmail.com unity. And here you can give any name, like any readable name. Okay, so just you need to verify the email address here. Okay, so you'll be receiving a code to your Gmail ID that you have given. This is my verification code. Verify. Okay, so now you need to create the password. So this is step 1. Continue here. And in the second one, you need to choose the contact information. So is it for a business purpose or is it for personal purpose? So this is for just practice. So I'm going to choose personal here, and you need to provide your all the details here. Okay. So what is your mobile number and all the address information here. Okay. So so everything input it here, and then we are going to check this box and continue to the next. Okay, and here in this particular page in the step 3, so you are going to give the credit card information. So they are going to charge around 1 USD to check whether your credit card is working fine or not, credit or debit card, and then they will credit it back just for the sake of checking your card activity here, active or not. So for India, it's like around 2 rupees something they will deduct. Okay, so let me try to give this information. So I'm going to stop my screen sharing for a while. I will enter my credit card information. So just I entered my credit card information. It's verifying. So they are going to deduct basic amount from my credit card. So it's 2 rupees they're going to deduct. So it is completed, guys. Let me reshare my screen. Okay. So once my credit card verification is completed, so you'll get into this particular phase. So it is for just what is the primary purpose of this account registration. So it's for personal use. I'm choosing ownership type. So it is individual. Okay. Okay. Now they're asking a lot of other things. Previously they did not ask all these things. Just let me stop the sharing and enter the details again. Guys, you're able to see my screen? Is it
But
clear?
Yes, Vinod,
it is
we can
not
see.
clear for me, Vinod. I don't know.
How about other screens?
Yes, Vinod, I'm able
For
to
me,
see.
it's clear.
Okay, maybe some bandwidth issues for you. Just check it, Suganya, once.
Okay, sure.
So I entered all the required information here. Just final step. It's like verifying your mobile number. Okay, there they've added a lot of things with this. Previously, it used to be very simple. So verification. Okay. So see here, guys, they are offering again different editions, development support, business support. We don't need all those things. Just choose the basic support free, which is for like 1 year free here. Okay. So just complete the sign up here. Okay. So now
You're not sharing your screen, Vinod.
Is sharing, I'm able to see.
Yeah, I'm able to see.
Okay.
multiple people are facing issue. Let me stop and reshare it. Just for others. We'll go with Zoom. This problem. Now you are able to see.
Yes, I am.
Okay, good. Right. So this is like I have created my account here. Okay, just I'm going to the console now, the web UI here. Just go to AWS console, and again it is asking for sign in. Let me sign in. Automatically it is taking my credentials because I have entered while creating. Okay, so this is the landing page of AWS, guys. Okay, so we have created Snowflake trail. Now we have created AWS trail. Okay, now in AWS everything is called a web service. So that's why AWS, Amazon Web Service. Okay, so if I want to use S3, so you need to search for that particular service here. Okay, so you'll get the services if you click on this box here. So all the services they have categorized. Okay, analytics, application integration, blockchain, something like that. So our S3 comes under storage here. Okay, see, in the storage, you have S3 here, scalable storage in the cloud. Okay, so this is where we are going to store our data now. Okay, so just I am going to extract the data and place the files here. From here, we are going to load the data into Snowflake. Okay, so first of all, before doing that, just let us try to understand what are the basics of S3. Okay, so let us try to see what is S3 here. So I'm clicking on S3. Okay, it's very simple. Here in S3, the top level folder is called bucket. Okay, S3 bucket we call it as. So just I'm going to create a bucket now. Okay, so there are a lot of options. You keep everything as default. Simply give the bucket name here. So this bucket name is for Snowflake data, or simply Snowflake. It should be unique, guys. Okay, if someone is using the same name, it will not allow. Some number I'm giving, random number. Everything you keep it as it is. Just create the bucket. Okay, so just create the bucket here. So now you have created the bucket. So this is like top level folder. Okay, so now when I click on this bucket, inside the bucket it is empty here. If you want to create another subfolder, you can create it. So let's say I am going to create another folder called raw data here. Okay, right? So inside raw data, let us assume now I am going to, I want to write, store one file. So it can be a text file, it can be a audio file, video file, anything you can store it here in S3. Okay, S3 supports everything here. So now let us try to load some sample file I have. Okay, so just I have some employee data file here. Okay, so this is my employee file, something like with 3 fields: employee ID, employee name, location, let us assume. Okay, with some comma separated values. So I want to load this employee data file into my S3. So manually I can do it through this upload process. Okay, click on upload, add files. Let's say I want to load that employee data or some other file. Okay, so you can upload multiple files here and click on upload. Okay, so upload is completed. So this is how you can use S3 for storing your data here. Okay, so in our case, we are not going to upload the data manually in the real time. Okay, so we are going to use some tools to write it into S3. Okay, so either you can use Matillion, you can use your own Python programming, or you can use some tools like Fivetran. There are multiple tools in the market which are going to write the data by reading this from these particular sources and putting it into S3. But for now, just I am giving manually. But we will also see different data ingestion tool called DMS. So we are going to use DMS and put a file from a Postgres database. So I'm going to show you that at the end. Okay, but this is how you can create a bucket and you can create some subfolders and you can upload the files here. Okay, any questions here, guys? Okay, so now what I'm going to do is we are going to discuss some administrative things in AWS. Okay, so similar to your Snowflake, to create a new user, I can create a new user in AWS also. Let's say you joined in my team, so as a data engineer, correct? Now what I did is just I gave you the Snowflake access. I have created a user. I have created a different access for you. So you got the Snowflake access, right? Now, as a data engineer, sometimes you may need to work with AWS cloud also, right? So you need to also access to AWS now. Okay. So I want to create a new user for you. Okay. So let's do that here. So if I want to create a new user, so I can do it through a service called IAM. Okay. So what is IAM is Identity Access Management. Okay, so it is similar to your account admin role in Snowflake, something like that. Okay, or your security admin where you create users, right? So similar way in Snowflake we have IAM, Identity Access Management here. Okay. Now, after going to IAM, let's say I want to create a user for a newly joined team member, right? So what I'm going to do is I'll go to this users. Create user. So let's say my username is okay. Now, while creating the user, I am asking provide the user access to AWS management console. So if they want access to this user interface, you need to check this box. Okay, and then here you can click on this. I want to create an IAM user, and if you want to auto generate the password, you can do it. Otherwise, you can do it with custom password. So I'm giving my password, custom password here. So if they want to change the password, so you can check this box, but I am unchecking this box. It's okay. So click on next. Okay. So after this, if you want, there are some different concepts, but you don't need anything. So just click on next. Okay. Now just I'm creating the user. Okay. Okay. So now a user is created. Okay. Now if you want to log in through this particular account, just copy this URL. Okay. So I'm opening a incognito window. So similar way we did for Snowflake, I'm opening another session. Okay. So here now what is the username I have given? Give that username. Vinod_dev and the password. Sign. Okay. So now same user interface this particular guy has here. Okay. So now let's say you are a data engineer, so you want to see some S3 data, you can go here and see here. Okay. So now let's see, try to access the bucket here, the S3 bucket I have created with my root user. Okay. Okay. So now let's say I'm trying to create a bucket here. Let me try. Just some random name we need to give. Just create bucket. Okay. This bucket with same name already exists. Someone might have created the same bucket. So let me do one thing. Some random number. Yeah. So it is saying fail to create the bucket. Okay. So now what is the reason that this particular user is not able to create the bucket? So what is the reason, guys? Here he is not able to create the bucket.
We have to give to authorization for it.
Yeah, we need to give the
Yes,
proper permission. Right. So similar to
permission.
Snowflake. So let's say I want to access a database. Okay. What we did, we gave the grant permission, right? So now in Snowflake, in AWS, that permission is called policy. Okay. So for example, I am now this user Vinod_dev. So he want to access S3 bucket, right? If you want to access S3 bucket here, so he need to have some S3 related policy assigned to him. Okay. So he need to have some policy called S3 policy. It is called S3 full access, something like that. So this is the permission he need to have. So if he has this permission, so you can access S3 here. Okay. So let's say this particular user want to access to another service of AWS. So there is another service called EC2. So by the way, anyone know what is EC2 in AWS?
Elastic compute.
Yeah, Elastic Compute. It's a virtual server in AWS. Okay. So let's say I want to spin up a Linux machine. where I want to install my Python, right? So just I can spin up a virtual machine called EC2 here. So it is called EC2, Elastic Compute Cloud. Okay. So now if he want to access to some EC2 server, he need to have EC2 full access, something like this. So these are called policies here. But as a root user with my Gmail ID, I logged in, right? So by default, I will have all the access. So this is my Gmail ID, let's say something @gmail.com. This is my root user, correct? So I have all this access by default. Now I am going to give this particular permissions to these users like S3 full access or EC2 full access, whatever required. I am going to provide as a root user now. Okay, so let me go there. Just so in order to do any administrative activities, you need to do through IAM, Identity Access Management. Okay, so go to that user I have created. This is the user I have created, right? So now I want to modify this user and give that particular permission. Okay, so if you see this particular user, so here you will see policies. Okay, so currently he does not have any policies, 0. So now I'm going to add the policy. So click on this add permissions. Okay, here attach policies directly. So Snowflake has so many thousands of policies here for different services here. Okay, so for S3 simply you check for S3 full access, Amazon S3 full access. So just I'm giving the full access for S3 now. Click on next, add permissions, done. So now this particular user is having S3 full access. Okay, so in the real time you don't get full access, you will get only read access as a data engineer. So now let me go back to that incognito window and then so here now this particular user is not having create bucket access, right? Let me retry it, what it will say. Yeah, so now he is able to create the bucket here. Okay, so because he has that particular policy, he is able to create the bucket here. Okay, clear guys? Are any questions like how to do a user creation using IAM and attach policies? Okay, now we are going to enter into actual topic. Okay, how to load the data from AWS S3 to Snowflake. Okay, so I was telling we are going to get the data from S3 to Snowflake, right? So how we are going to do that? Okay, so there are different approaches to do that. Okay, let me show you through a diagram. So now let us assume my data is already sitting in S3. So with some tools I have already written the data to S3. Now I want to load the data into Snowflake. Simply I want to load the data into Snowflake. Okay, so if I want to load the data into Snowflake from S3, you need to prove that your Snowflake has read access to S3. Okay, so how you can done this is there is a command called copy into. Okay, so we are going to use a command called copy into. Okay, so I will show you the syntax. Okay, so and how to load this file I will show you. So let me go to Snowflake. I think we have already Snowflake. So let me create a table called employee in Snowflake. Then we will load the data into that particular employee table. Okay. Okay. So I think we have already created a table called employee yesterday. Yeah, in the development database in the HRMS schema. So I have a table called employee. Okay. Now I want to load the data into this particular employee table. Okay. Okay, so there is a record here. Let me delete the data from here. I want to load it from S3. Now, to load the data into this particular table, I want to use a command called copy into. So Snowflake is supporting a command called copy into here. So let me open that particular folder. Okay. So my copy into command syntax looks like this, guys. Okay. This is my copy into command syntax. Right. So the copy into command looks like this. Copy into the table name, and from the path here. Okay. So I already have this particular file in S3. So if you remember, we have already uploaded a file in S3. Let me show you. So in this particular Snowflake 537 bucket, I have raw data folder. Inside this, I have a file called employee data underscore SE. So let me show you this data as well. Okay, cannot see it from here. Let me download. So this particular data is having some 2 records, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, 7. I want to load this data into Snowflake. So what I'm going to do now, simply copy into table name from that particular location. So just you need to provide this particular path. Okay. And here we are going to give the file format. Okay. After mentioning the file location. So you forget about credentials later. We'll discuss this. But we are saying file format is CSV. So what is CSV here? Comma separated values file. So my data is in the form of comma separated values. I'm telling to Snowflake here. Now there is something called credentials. Okay. So what is this credentials is you have to prove to Snowflake that, sorry, AWS, that you have read access to S3. Then only you can load the data here. So to do that, you need to have some credentials. Okay. So this is like how you authorize with AWS. So how you get these credentials, right? So you cannot directly get the credentials. Okay. So because we already created a user, correct? Which is Vinod underscore dev. He is already having access to S3, right? I already gave the S3 full access policies to him. Now I am going to get the credentials of this user. So user can have credentials. Okay, and this credentials I am going to use in the copy into command. So using this particular user credentials, I am going to copy the data into Snowflake, not directly, but I am using the credentials here. So let's see how to get the credentials of this user. So when I say credentials, it's like a key pair. Okay, it's not simple password. So you'll have a key ID and secret key. Okay, so how you are going to get that? So let's go back to again AWS. So in the AWS, go to that particular user which we have created earlier. He is having access to S3. Now I want to get the credentials for this user here. Okay, so in the security credentials area, you can create actually. Yeah, here in the access keys, you can click on create access keys, and it will ask like why you creating these credentials. You can choose other. Next. Okay, it's okay. You can skip this tag value. Create access key. Okay, so now you got these access keys. Okay, so this is like one time access keys, guys. I mean, not one time. I mean, once you lost it, you'll not see it. That's the reason you need to save it in a file, CSV file. Okay, so I am just doing this. Okay, it's not copying. Let me open this particular. Anyway, I have downloaded them, right? So let me open that. So you will get two keys, access key and secret key. right? So let's go here, get this access key ID, get this access key ID and secret access key. Snowflake. So this is my access key. Just I gave some random value here, and secret access key, you need to get it. This is secret access key. Just copy it here. Now, if I run this particular copy into command, you should get the data from this S3. So let me run it here. See, so this particular data, there are 2 rows, it is loaded into Snowflake. Now you are going to see that S3 file data into Snowflake here, correct? So with the help of credentials, we can load the data into Snowflake. So these credentials are for authentication purpose. Any questions, guys, here?
So is it auto commit? You know,
Yes, it is auto commit. So by default, the setting is auto commit is true. So it will be auto commit. If you want to make it false, you can do it. There is a parameter.
so only from cloud only we can load the data. It might be, I mean, Amazon S3 or Azure or somewhere, Azure or Google. Only from cloud we can load.
Yeah, if you want to do bulk loading, yeah, that is how you do. But if you want to write directly to Snowflake, there are some other tools, okay? Like Kafka directly streams the data. Row by row, it is going to bring it and write it into Snowflake table. There are some connectors.
Yep.
And like, let's say if you want to insert the data directly, you can say insert into. But if it is through a file, like a bulk load, you need to load it from the cloud.
Okay. Yeah.
Is there only the CSV format it will be support like any other formats also like
So
apart from the
yeah,
CSV?
it supports CSV, Parquet, JSON, XML, ORC format. So we are going to discuss that, but this is a basic syntax of copy into, but it's copy into is like so many options, like thousands of options. Okay, I'll show you. Go to Snowflake, copy into table. So if you have any doubt with copy into command, so this is like your Bible. Okay, so here in the Snowflake documentation, they provide all the options. Okay, so you're asking about file format, right? So it supports CSV, JSON, Avro, ORC, Parquet, XML, and there are so many things here. Okay, so for CSV there are some sub options. For JSON there are some sub options. So we are going to discuss the important one. Okay, not everything. So if you have any questions related to copy into later, just you can refer this documentation. Okay, just I'm giving the info. Okay. And any other questions, guys? You must be having so many questions. What if the file load fails? What if the file is having some partial records, good records, right? So we can handle all of them. Okay. So if you're clear, so this particular process is not a best practice. The reason is if you get access to these credentials, anyone else can use it and access your S3. Okay, because somehow for example it happened in real time also. Some guy has uploaded this code into a public repository of Git. So there are some programs which will scan for these credentials, and they catch hold of these keys, then it will be really tough for us. Okay, so there is a second approach to load the data. Instead of using credentials, we are going to use another approach using a role. Okay, so that I am going to discuss in tomorrow's session. Okay, clear, guys? Or any last minute questions? Okay, so let's meet tomorrow then. We'll continue. Thank you.
Thank you.